Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Vechain. I do want to say that I'm not a financial advisor. You should do your own research before investing money into crypto. If you haven't seen the previous update, make sure to watch that before watching this one. It's going to be linked in the top right hand corner of the screen. Now let's jump straight into the TA. Taking a look at the daily chart, you can see that we have this large Fibonacci retracement, and we set it up on the weekly chart. So if I go to the weekly real quick and we take a look at the swing low, which was printed back in January this year, and the swing high that was printed back in April 2021, this was our 1.618 target that we would be looking forward to during the bull market. Right now, this Fibonacci retracement has been invalidated because we printed a lower low. So we're going to delete that Fibonacci retracement. And what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be waiting for a bottom to be printed out. So we need a bottom structure. We need to have a move above this February or this August 2022 high before we can officially say that the bottom has been printed, because I've said this many times. If all of these altcoins start retracing but they don't break above this major resistance level that a lot of them printed in either August or September 2022, there's no way we can officially say that the bottom has been printed for these altcoins. And lo and behold, the bottom has been lost. So the Fibonacci retracement has been invalidated. We're going to wait for a low to be printed so that we can set a new Fib retracement. What we can do in the meantime is we can take a Fibonacci retracement, take the swing high we printed in February, take the swing low we printed in December, and we have ourselves a 1.618 target at 0.0115 cents. This is going to be our technical target to the downside if we end up coming back down below the first fib level, because you can see we had a bit of a fake out here. So we lost this low, but we didn't stay below that. What we need to do is we need to break below this low, start back testing the first fib level as resistance, and therefore we can assume that the 1.618 level is going to be met, because once you break through or lose the first fib level, depending on your trend, the 1.618 is your technical target, and most of the time you do retrace to it. What we're doing right now is we had a bit of a wick to the upside, and it looked like we were going to retest the 20 EMA as resistance, but we'll talk about the weekly chart in just a bit. We'll go back to the daily, and on the daily, what happened is that we broke above the 55, as you can see. If I can just zoom in, we broke above the 55 just briefly, but we were unable to hold it as support. Now you can see we have a support level here, or a previous support level I should say, at 0.01945, and this was created all the way back here. Before that, we had another bounce in January 2023, then we had a back test of resistance of that exact same level over here. And yeah, so we held it as resistance, broke above, had a couple of retests, broke below, and now we're coming back up to retest it as resistance. We had a few wicks above that line. I do think we might have a bounce off the 20 and another move to the upside just to close the candle properly at the 0.01945 cents, but we might not do that, right? The move has played out, so we might not have that bounce depending on what Bitcoin does, depending on what news we get. But if we continue down here, what we could be expecting is a retest of 0.01605, because that was our resistance at the start of June. So June 13th, we ran into that resistance with this bit of a rally that we had after the capitulation. Then we had a move to the upside, we printed a higher low, and then we went into a bit of a crazy move here, running into the 55 EMA. So anyone buying in at these lows over here could have made a nice 30% trade, or could have made 30% of profit if you were looking at a swing trade or a short-term trade. Now, if we lose the 20 EMA, I would say we are guaranteed to come back down to 0.01605, because that's a major support level. We don't really have any support after the 20 EMA or below the 20 EMA unless you get down here. So 0.01605 is going to be a major level for us to hold. And of course, this local low at 0.0147 is going to be your local bottom at the moment. So that is going to be a level we want to hold as well. And let me just bring out a price tag just so we can keep an eye on this level. This is going to be a pretty important level for us to hold because you don't want to be losing the local low. And I think chances are we're going to be losing this low as well. If Bitcoin has a strong pullback, altcoins will be losing their June low. Maybe it's going to be in July, maybe it's going to happen in August, maybe after September, maybe we're going to be, entering the bull trap that I keep talking about in August, September, and this is just the build up to that. Whatever the situation may be, I still think we're going to have a nice crash, a nice pullback, because they're not going to let everyone make money just by having this little pullback. Everyone's going to buy back in. No, they're probably going to have a pretty strong capitulation before we get to the bull market, guys. So things could get crazy before we get into the bull market. So be ready for both outcomes as always, and start getting into positions if you haven't already. Not a financial advice. Now, this is the daily RSI. You can see we went extremely low here below the index of 32.32, which was our support level. We lost that, and this was obviously a very good buying opportunity. We broke above, and now we're sitting above this support block that we've been retesting as support multiple times. So if you're looking to enter, I would wait until we start retracing back down to this white trend line. So this white trend line is something that we have retested in December and March, and we had a bit of a fake out down below over here, another retest in May. We broke below, broke above, so hopefully we can hold it as support over here in July if we're going to be coming back down. If we end up losing that, the pink trend line is your next support level based on these previous touches, and below that, of course, the 32.32 level. But with these capitulations, you never know how low the wick is going to be. So you could have never predicted that the wick is going to, bottom out at 0.01345. That's why you want to have these buy limit orders set up in advance. Now let's switch over to the weekly chart. And before we continue with the video, I quickly want to mention my Patreon that's linked down below in the description. If you enjoy my content, you want to get more exclusive content, and you want to support me at the same time, definitely feel free to check out the Patreon, because you're going to get a 7-day free access on my Patreon and an instant access to all of my content since October 2021, which is when I started. You'll get access to content like exclusive weekly podcasts, and we're starting to invite guests already. We have 40 plus low cap gem posts. We have a bunch of project reviews. We have a bunch of resources that are going to help you save time and make more money with this upcoming bull market. So this is definitely a great exchange of value for the both of us. And once again, there's a 7-day free trial. Feel free to check it out. You can leave anytime, and let's continue with the video. Taking a look at the weekly chart, you can see that we have a support block between 0.0159 down to 0.0147 on the charts, and we've retested that in December last year. We've retested that here in June, and we're having another bounce. We do also have a descending resistance trend line here. So we are in a bit of a falling wedge, you could say. We have a resistance touch over here in April 2022, another touch in February 2023, another touch in April 2023, and we could be looking at another touch in June/July 2023. Now, if we get sent back down one more time, I would like to see this support block held. If not, there's a possibility we're going to be looking down at a capitulation all the way down to the bottom of this falling wedge, or down to the support of the falling wedge, which also has been retested twice before, once in June last year, once in January this year, and the third time could be after this impulsive move to the upside that we might have into the resistance, and we could be looking at approximately 1 cent here. 1 cent for Vechain could be the bottom based on this falling wedge, right? If we're going to adhere to the falling wedge structure. If we lose that, obviously that's not going to be very good. We can also add a support block here from that level there to all the way up there. Let me get this straight on point, and I'll show you how we got there. So we have a back test of resistance over here. We held this level as support over here. Another back test of resistance here. We broke above, back test of support, move to the upside. Potentially we're coming back down into that block and we're going to consolidate there before we see the move to the upside. Maybe we just see a massive wick to the downside, just like we had in March 2020 because of the cuff. And yeah, that's something to keep in mind, because if you want to get in on these cheap prices, you're not going to be able to do it instantly, because once you see the prices dropping and you're at work, or maybe you're even asleep, you're just going to miss out on these large wicks to the downside. Obviously, don't FOMO in and, you know, send all of your money into an exchange and set up a buy limit order. But I'm just saying, if you have some money on the sidelines, you could start setting up some buy limit orders at the support of this falling wedge, and maybe a few orders in this support block, because retesting this support block is not out of the question. We don't know how bearish the markets can get before we flip bullish. And keep in mind, we also have this yellow descending resistance trend line that we have retested once in August last year, once in March this year. We could have another retest if we end up breaking above, and if we have another retest, we're probably going to be coming back down to retest this block one more time, and this is just a bunch of, you know, this is a large sideways channel in that case. But yeah, you could also say that this is a broadening descending wedge, right? You can also argue that. You could argue that this is a falling wedge if you count that touch. But this does look like we're preparing to start printing some sort of a bottoming structure. We want to bottom out, and whenever that happens, you know, we don't know. We just have to react to what the markets give us. Now, taking a look at the weekly RSI, we do have a support level here. The first time we had a bounce off of that was in June 2022. Then in December 2022, we could be looking at another bounce if we have a capitulation sometime at the end of this year or closer to Q3, Q4. Now, that pretty much covers everything I have for Vechain. We've been covering this project for a very long time on the channel. Full transparency, I don't own any Vechain tokens as of yet, because there are a lot of other altcoins I'm looking at. It's impossible to get into every single one. But if you're bullish on Vechain, these are the prices you want to be looking at for starting a position, because you're sitting pretty much at the lows that we printed back in November and December 2022. And also, those are the same prices we saw back in November 2020. So just put that into perspective, and yeah, never be too greedy. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to see you in the next update. Take care and goodbye.